Someone cheered as the candles flickered against the dim light. But the spotlight wasn't on me. It landed squarely on my sister Chloe's mom, Diane, beamed like a queen crowning her heir. With exaggerated flair, she slid an envelope across the table toward Chloe. "Sweetheart, you deserve everything for this night. 2 tickets to Paris, for you and Brandon. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation. Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin!" The room erupted into cheers. My aunt clapped so hard her bracelet snapped. Dad, Frank, grinned with pride as if Chloe had just secured a Nobel Prize. And me? The actual birthday girl, Ava. I sat stiff in my chair, my fork resting on an empty plate. My pulse hammered in my ears as Chloe gasped, "Mom, are you serious? Paris?" She squealed, kissing Brandon on the cheek while the table clapped again. Then came my gift. Mom shoved a small crumpled box toward me, her eyes already back on Chloe. "And for you, Ava." Her tone was flat, like tossing scraps to a stray dog. I opened it, fingers trembling. Inside lay a few bent, half-used birthday candles, the kind pulled from a drawer when nothing else was left. The table went quiet. For one painful beat, no one spoke. Then Brandon smirked, shaking his head. "Well, thoughtful, I guess." His chuckle cut like a blade. My throat tightened, but I didn't let the tears come. Instead, I smiled. A sharp, unshakable smile. One that didn't beg. It warned. I stood, my chair screeching against the hardwood floor. The sound sliced through the air, making heads snap toward me. Chloe's smirk widened, expecting me to break, but before a word left my lips, a knock thundered against the front door. Heavy, commanding. The laughter evaporated. The Paris tickets trembled in Chloe's hand. The door creaked open. And in walked Lucas, my husband. His presence was so strong the room seemed to fold around him. Not with flowers or balloons. Not with forced smiles. But with raw, unshakable power. "Ava," he said, voice low, steady, dangerous in its calm. "Ready?" Every head turned to me. My lips curved higher. "Yes," I whispered. And just like that, the air in the room collapsed into silence. Their cheers had died. Their confidence had withered. Because this wasn't the end of a birthday. It was the beginning of a reckoning. No one moved. The room that had been roaring with laughter minutes ago now sat in a stunned hush. Lucas shut the door behind him, slow and deliberate, his eyes sweeping across the table. Brandon shifted uncomfortably beside Chloe, but it was my mother's expression, Diane's smug smile draining from her face, that almost made me laugh. "Ava," Lucas said again, his voice cutting through the silence like steel. "We should go. We're already expected." My father, Frank, cleared his throat, forcing a laugh. "Expected? What does that mean?" "Sit down, son. We're celebrating Chloe tonight." Lucas's gaze flicked to him, calm but sharp enough to slice. "Funny. Last I checked, today belonged to Ava. Yet I walked into a circus where the birthday girl was humiliated in front of her own family." Chloe rolled her eyes, twirling a strand of her hair. "Oh, please. Ava's fine. She always overreacts. Besides, Paris makes sense for me. I'm the one getting married." Her tone dripped with superiority, and Brandon smirked like he'd already pocketed the plane tickets. But Lucas stepped closer, each stride measured. His presence made the walls feel smaller, the air heavier. He rested his hand lightly on my shoulder, not for show but to anchor me. "You think humiliating my wife with leftover candles while handing out Paris trips is acceptable?" he asked, his tone quiet, deadly even in its softness. Mom straightened, defensive. "Now wait just a second. You don't understand. Chloe has always been our golden child. She deserves the best. Ava..." She hesitated, her eyes flicking toward me. Well, she's strong. She can handle disappointment." My jaw clenched, my nails digging into my palm. For years, I'd been labeled the one who could handle it, the one pushed aside, told to survive on scraps while Chloe bathed in affection and attention. But tonight? Tonight wasn't going to end the way they expected. Lucas's lips curved into a cold smile. Strong? You mistake cruelty for strength, Diane. What you've been doing to Ava isn't love. It's neglect dressed up as tradition. The table shifted with discomfort. My uncle coughed into his napkin. My cousin stared at her phone, pretending not to listen. But every ear strained for what would come next. Chloe laughed, trying to cut the tension. Lucas, don't be dramatic. Ava knows she doesn't need grand gestures. She's simple. Simple? Lucas's eyes locked on hers, unflinching. Do you have any idea who my wife really is? Or have you been too busy polishing your own crown to notice? Chloe blinked, caught off guard. What are you talking about? Lucas squeezed my shoulder gently. Ava is not simple. She's the woman I chose to stand beside me. And unlike this table full of self-proclaimed royalty, she doesn't need validation to shine. But since you all love gestures, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a sleek envelope. He placed it on the table with a thud that echoed louder than any cheer had earlier. What is that? Brandon asked, his cocky grin faltering. Lucas leaned forward, his gaze sharp. Consider it Ava's real birthday gift. And unlike your Paris trip, Chloe, it wasn't bought with favoritism. It was earned, deserved. My chest tightened as I stared at the envelope. I hadn't even known he had something planned. My fingers hovered over it, but before I could touch it, Mom snapped. This is ridiculous. We don't need your theatrics, Lucas. Ava should be grateful we even included her tonight. The words sliced deep. But I didn't flinch. Not anymore. Because for the first time, I felt the shift. Their control over me cracking, their confidence slipping. Lucas straightened, his jaw tight. No, you should be grateful Ava even still walks into this house after everything. But after tonight, he paused, his eyes scanning the table, letting the weight of his words settle. Things are going to change. A hush swept through the room again. Chloe fidgeted with the Paris envelope, her smile slipping into unease. Brandon's hand twitched nervously against his glass. Change how? Dad asked, his voice lower now, uncertain. Lucas glanced at me, and for the first time that night my smile wasn't forced. It was real. That's for Ava to decide, Lucas said firmly. She's done playing second place in her own life. Every face turned toward me. The same faces that had watched me swallow years of insults and favoritism. The same faces that expected me to sit quietly with my box of discarded candles. But I didn't sit anymore. I lifted the envelope Lucas had placed before me, my hand steady. Mom? Dad? Chloe. My voice was calm, but every syllable struck like a drumbeat. You've underestimated me for the last time, and as I slid the envelope open, the air grew heavier. Everyone leaned forward, waiting, though none of them were ready for what was coming. The envelope felt heavy in my hands, heavier than paper had any right to be. Everyone's eyes drilled into me, waiting for me to falter, waiting for me to fold like I always did. But not this time. I tore it open with one swift motion. A set of glossy documents slid out, crisp under the dining room lights. I read the bold header once, my stomach flipping, but instead of fear, something stronger burned in me. Vindication. Chloe leaned forward, impatience dripping from her voice. Well, what is it? Some cutesy card? Maybe dinner reservations? Lucas's voice cut across her sneer. Not dinner, ownership. Murmurs rippled through the table. My father stiffened. My mother's fork clattered onto her plate. Chloe's laugh was sharp, nervous. Ownership of what? I laid the papers flat on the table, letting the words speak for themselves. The Mitchell family house. The company Dad runs. The lake cabin. Every major asset you thought you controlled. I glanced at Lucas, my voice firm. Transferred. To me. Chloe's face blanched, then flushed crimson. No, that's impossible. Dad would never... Lucas interrupted, calm but merciless. He already did. He signed those documents last month, Ava, with my firm's oversight. He may not have realized it, but the papers he signed gave Ava controlling authority. Dad's chair scraped against the floor as he shot up, his voice booming. You tricked me. Lucas's eyes met his, steady as stone. No, you were careless. You signed without reading. Because you assumed Ava would always remain silent, that she'd never have the strength to challenge you. That assumption ends tonight. My mother's face twisted. This is outrageous. Ava doesn't know the first thing about handling responsibility. She's too soft, too naive. I met her glare head on, my voice cold and even. Soft doesn't mean weak, Mom. And naive? I laughed bitterly. That's what you told yourself every time you used me as a dumping ground for your cruelty. But here I stand, holding everything you never thought I'd have. The room buzzed with unease. Aunts and cousins shifted in their seats. Brandon rubbed Chloe's arm, whispering something meant to soothe her, but she shoved him away, her composure unraveling. This is insane, Chloe spat, her voice trembling. You don't deserve any of this, Ava. I've always been the one who what? I snapped, cutting her off. My voice rose, trembling with years of buried pain. The one who got the trips? The dresses? The applause while I got scraps? Do you know what it feels like to blow out candles knowing they weren't even meant for you? To be handed leftovers on the day you're supposed to be celebrated? Chloe's mouth opened, then closed. For once, she had no quick retort. Lucas stepped closer to me, his hand firm at my back, grounding me. Ava isn't the shadow you all made her believe she was. She's the rightful owner now, and you'll treat her with the respect she's always deserved. Frank's voice cracked like thunder. I built this family. I built that company. Yes, I said softly, but my words cut sharper than his shout. And you destroyed me in the process. But what you built now belongs to me. That's the consequence of treating your daughter like she doesn't matter. The weight of my words sank into the room. My mother pushed back from the table, standing tall as if she could tower over the truth. This won't stand. You think you've won, Ava, but you'll crumble. Just watch. Paris will be Chloe's stage, and you'll fade into the background as always. I stepped forward, my voice steady but filled with fire. No, Mom, Paris is just a trip. Paper and tickets. What I hold in my hand is power, stability, and proof that I'm more than the shadows you shoved me into. And I won't fade, not ever again. For a long moment, no one spoke. The silence was deafening, thicker than smoke. Then Lucas broke it, his tone deliberate. This family dinner is over. Ava isn't here to beg for scraps anymore. She's here to claim what's hers. And you'll respect that, or be left behind. The impact of his words hit like a storm. Brandon glanced at Chloe, his confidence crumbling. My father's shoulders sagged under the weight of his own mistake. My mother's lips tightened, rage simmering but powerless. And me? For the first time in years, I felt my spine straighten, my heart steady. I wasn't a guest at my own birthday anymore. I wasn't a background character in Chloe's endless spotlight. I was Ava Mitchell, and the room that once silenced me now belonged to me. But as I looked around the table, I knew this was only the beginning, because power, once revealed, doesn't just change family dinners. It changes everything. The documents still lay across the table like a loaded weapon. No one touched them, but no one could look away. Chloe's Paris tickets trembled in her manicured fingers, suddenly worthless compared to the reality in front of her. Those papers don't change who we are, Mom hissed, her voice brittle. We are the backbone of this family, Ava. You're just the mistake who got lucky with a clever husband. The words struck, but they no longer pierced. I looked her dead in the eye, my voice steel. No, Mom, I'm the daughter who finally stopped letting you break her. Lucas stood tall at my side, his expression unreadable but fierce. You can either accept the change or choke on your pride. Your choice. Dad slammed his fist against the table, making the glasses rattle. I won't be dictated to in my own house. You already signed it away. Lucas shot back, his tone sharp. Your arrogance handed Ava the keys. Your house is no longer yours, it's hers. The words hit like a gavel, final and unshakable. Dad's face went pale. Chloe's voice cracked into a shriek. This isn't fair. Everything was supposed to be mine. I've been groomed for it since I was a child. I turned toward her, the years of resentment boiling into words that had waited too long. That's the problem, Chloe. You've been groomed to take, not to build. Groomed to expect, not to earn. I was given nothing. and that made me stronger than you'll ever be. Brandon shifted uneasily beside her, his confidence unraveling. Chloe, maybe we should sit down. This is getting out of hand. She spun on him, eyes blazing. Don't you dare take her side. You're supposed to support me. But Brandon's silence said more than words. For the first time, Chloe realized even he wasn't willing to drown with her. Mom tried one last jab, her voice sharp with venom. You'll regret this, Ava. Power doesn't suit you. You'll fall apart, and when you do, we'll be here to pick up the pieces, like always. I stepped closer, my smile calm, confident. That's where you're wrong. I won't fall, because I've already lived through my worst nights and I survived without you. The only ones falling apart tonight are the ones who built their lives on underestimating me. The silence that followed was suffocating. No applause. No laughter. Just the weight of shattered pride hanging in the air. Lucas placed his arm lightly around my waist. Not possessive, but protective. We're leaving, he said firmly. Ava doesn't need this circus anymore. I looked at the candles they'd given me. Bent, half-burned, shoved into a box as if that's all I deserved. I picked them up and held them in my palm. You know, I said softly, my voice carrying through the room. Candles burn even when they're bent. Just like I did. But you'll never snuff me out again. I set them gently back down and turned toward the door. Lucas opened it for me, his hand steady, his presence unshakable. Together, we stepped out. Behind us, the room erupted, Mom's muffled curses, Chloe's frantic sobs, Dad's voice cracking under anger and regret. But none of it mattered anymore. For the first time, the noise couldn't reach me. Outside, the air was cool against my skin. The night sky stretched wide, endless. Lucas looked at me, his eyes softening. You handled that perfectly. I breathed deep, my chest lighter than it had ever been. For once I feel free, he smiled, brushing a strand of hair from my face. This is only the beginning, Ava. They tried to make you small, but tonight, you showed them who you really are. A car pulled up at the curb, sleek and polished, the kind that turned heads. Lucas opened the door for me, and as I slid inside, I caught one last glimpse through the dining room window. Faces pressed against the glass, pale and desperate. They'd thought my birthday was theirs to control. They thought humiliation would break me. But instead, it had revealed me, the daughter they ignored, the sister they mocked, the woman they underestimated, now the one holding everything they thought they owned. As the car pulled away, Chloe's Paris tickets fluttered from her hand, forgotten. And in that moment, I knew. My story wasn't about revenge alone. It was about reclamation. I wasn't just Ava Mitchell, the forgotten daughter. I was Ava Mitchell, the woman